Hawks Live is fueled by Georgia Natural Gas. And plenty for Hawks fans to like about the results here at State Farm Arena tonight. The 11th straight win for the team on this floor, and the most lopsided victory of this 2025-26 season. The final count, 146 to 107. Great to see you out there. Along with Brian Oliver, I'm Matt Weiner. And this was pretty much textbook.
Well, it was. We talked about in the pregame. Hawks needed to take care of their business. They did that, sitting right at 6. I don't know if you heard, Orlando gets beat by Indiana.
Yep.
Then Miami loses, and then also Philly loses. So always good for that. You take care of your business. Hawks came out and did what we expected them to do to continue to wrap up another win.
Nickeil Alexander-Walker was part of the offensive onslaught against the Grizzlies tonight. He spoke with Madison Hawk after the game.
Nickeil, you all just beat Memphis by 39 points, led by as many as 44. How were you all able to be so dominant from the start?
We just took it seriously. We were professional about our approach. Everybody stayed locked in. We played together, and we focused on getting defensive stops.
You forced Memphis to 23 turnovers. How were you all able to get so many stops?
Just game plan execution, just understanding, and we came up with a certain level of respect, knowing what they're capable of doing. They hang around, they play hard, they got guys who have nothing to lose and trying to prove themselves, so we have to respect them as professionals, and we did just that. We were able to focus on turning over the ball, staying shifted, getting into bodies, being physical, and just playing our brand of basketball.
You had 26 points and 6 assists and didn't even play in the fourth quarter. How have you unlocked this new level of consistency to your game?
Honestly, you know, it's a good day he's not here. Ashton's been on me a lot. And he's challenged me in ways to do better and to do more with less. And I'll credit that part to him.
Okay, enough basketball questions. Tell me about this little cutie. What's up, guy?
This is Paris. He loves the game. He loves coming to games. He's always shy around people, but when we get home, he'll start playing and it won't stop.
Hey, what 2-year-old isn't? I have seen his free throw shot. He's already dribbling. He's not that much older than my twin daughters, so I got to get him in the gym so they can keep up with him.
Yeah, hopefully, you know, what, 2046 or something, God's willing. All right, we'll see.
Love it, Nickeil. Thanks so much.
All right, Madison. Paris is a star in his own right. As we check the standings right now, B.O. told you the results. Everything went right for the Hawks tonight across the board, not only here at State Farm, but around the league. Magic, Philly, Miami, all lose tonight. And so the Hawks pick up a game on each. They're now a full game up on the 76ers plus the tiebreaker. A game and a half now up on the Magic. They have the tiebreaker there as well. And 2 games up on the Miami Heat with a game left to play against the Heat on the final day of the season. And this is exactly the sort of margin and recent win stretch that you want to bank with a tougher stretch of schedule upcoming.
Well, here's the thing, too, is that, you know, Nickeil mentioned the fact that they approach this game as professionals. Oftentimes, team will look at a team's record and they'll see who's not playing, and they may not have the same respect for their opponent. Hawks came out, we talked about in the pregame. Quinn Snyder said, hey, you got to have a playoff type of mentality. I thought when you see the fact that they come out and beat this Memphis team that they're supposed to beat by 39, and how they beat them lets you know the approach that they had. We often talk about this Hawks team, and when they come and lead with defense, when they come in and, you know, they had a season high 39 points off for 20 turnovers. When they have 71 bench points, when they come in and you hit 25 threes and you have those type of things, that lets you know that the approach was one that they're locked in from 1 to 13. And that's the thing as you go forward. Can you duplicate that effort after every game? You do that, you give yourself a really good chance to hold on to 6 and possibly grab 5.
Memphis is undermanned. We knew that coming in. This is exactly the response a good team gives against a team that you know, in terms of personnel, just doesn't stand much of a chance against good NBA teams. So many numbers to throw at you here. Bio mentioned a couple of them. This was the second highest scoring game of the season for the Hawks. They tied their biggest lead of the season, at one point leading this game by 44. And our Ford Key, 25 threes. That not only ties a season high, it ties the franchise record.
But, man, we often talk about with this Hawks team is, can you create good shot quality? The shots that the Hawks got, they were good because, you know, guys knocked down shots. But how often did you see Hawks doing a good job of running their offense, getting in transition, passing up one shot for another shot? There were like 5 different sequences where you saw 4 different guys touch the ball. And when you get a chance to see that happen, that shows you that this team is connected. Often, Quinn Snyder's always talking about playing for one another, the defense, the high assists. When you're playing like that and playing for one another, it becomes fun, it becomes contagious, and the results have turned out in their favor because, again, this is a unit. When they stick to what they should do, it's fun to watch, and you can tell guys are having fun, guys are, you know, high-fiving, and they're celebrating. Winning breeds and cures all things.
Absolutely, and there's major buy-in right now in terms of the system. 38 points off turnovers Saturday night. That was a season high until tonight with 39.
But here's the thing, is that one of the things when you have buy-in defensively, that's one of the things that really ignites this Hawks team. You know they're going to score points. But when we talk about the streak and the games that they're winning and a brand of basketball and a type of formula, it normally starts with their defense. Quinn Snyder wants to play up-tempo. He wants to get out and run. Man, you can't do that if you don't get stops if you're playing out of the net. When they're able to do that, then they're out and running. We talked about they got multiple playmakers. They got a ton of finishers. This is a long, athletic team. When they're able to get out, they've got guys that get downhill, and they play well together. The points off of turnovers in the defense is something that if you can continue to manufacture that, it puts you in a very good position because the teams that they have beat, if they're able to play it with defense and running, that puts them in a very good position.
Players feeling good about themselves, feeling good about each other. Even the head coach gets to the press conference faster after a night like this. Quinn Snyder at the podium already here at State Farm Arena in our Georgia Natural Gas post-game press conference.
It's terrific. And I thought CJ set the tone early, where he was just in the lane and, you know, had his eyes out, finding people. And then Nickeil had a stretch beginning, you know, the third quarter where just those guys playing that way, just, you know, it raises everybody's level, it sets a tone. And it wasn't just the two of them, but, it, you know, to me, they stood out because they're both, you know, capable scorers when they get in there too. So for them to, you know, be looking for their teammates, you know, and they do. But it was noticeable tonight in those two situations, I thought, you know, in a very obvious way. We were obviously unselfish, which I like to be able to say that.
Coach, over these last 14 or 15 games or so, you've got to be impressed about your team when it comes to your team's maturity and growth. People talk about who you play and whatnot, but everybody plays everybody in the NBA different times. But when it comes to just them stepping on the court, taking care of business against a team that may be injured or very young and trying to find their way, you got to be impressed by the maturity and growth of your team.
Yeah, I think it's a collective thing where guys are just putting the team first. And when you say that, the things that those guys are doing right now demonstrate that. So, you know, that's got to be our focus. And when it is, you know, we're crashing the offensive glass, we're sharing the ball, getting in the lane, breaking the paint, and then sharing the ball. Just so it's, you know, and the focus, the focus on the defense, I think, is the most important thing. That when you see everybody bought into that, that says a lot about the guys in our locker room. As you said, their maturity, but also just their focus, you know, whether you're 22 or 32.
Coach, you reaffirmed last week that you wanted to take more open threes when they're available to him. First time last weekend, he made multiple in a game. He made multiple again, back-to-back games. With the more confidence he gets taking those threes, what does that do for your offense overall?
Well, I mean, he's done that before. Like if you look, maybe not as much, this year, but that's who he is. Like, and we don't want him to not be aggressive in any situation. So his aggressiveness offensively can manifest itself a lot of ways. And, as you said, just being prepared to shoot. I've talked to you guys before about just space and then read. And if shot, take the shot. He's pretty good getting in the paint too.
Coach, you all had 8 turnovers in the first quarter, but finished with 11. Just how important was taking care of the ball for the rest of the game?
It was that's the possession game, and the fact that we, did that to be able to clean that up against the team that was, they were denying passes and trying to extend pressure up the floor, and thought our guys settled into that and were much more secure with the ball. And that takes more than just one player. You've got to work to get open. Sometimes you got to ball fake. You've got to be spaced if someone needs help. It was good to see.
This is not new for today, but Zach led the team in rebounding, and his rebounding numbers are really up the last couple of weeks. I know that's intentional in some degree, but what have you seen from him to be able to kind of up that?
He's crashing the offensive glass. As much as anything, I think his consistency in doing that, and whether he gets the ball or not, there's possessions where he goes and, he's not actually getting credit for a rebound, but someone else gets it. And that's something we want our whole group to do. That's terrific, whether it's the defensive glass or crashing, but you can see the focus on that and the effort. Okay, guys.
Yeah, 8 rebounds from Zachary Riesouche tonight as the Hawks out-rebounded the Grizzlies by 10, as well as outdoing everything else. I don't know. It's hard to parse all the stats when you win a game by 39.
But there are a couple of things that stood out for me that you talked about his team. Maturity, focus, and unselfishness. And so when you look at that across the board in team sports, when you get players focused on those things, and everyone's moving and buy-in on that, you got to have talent. But when you mix those things together, you normally have really good results. Yeah. And you and I have had a chance to travel on the road with this team, and the chemistry that these guys have, it doesn't not seem like there's ego. Right. It seems like everyone's paddling in the same direction. There's buy-in from the coaching staff, and you can tell because this is a game that you easily could have lost. We talked about the fact that Orlando Magic, they lose to an Indiana team that's going downward.
Orlando's lost 5 in a row now, as has Miami.
So when you look at these games and you win the ones, you got to make sure you have everybody. When your coach can say that, gives you hope going forward when 10 more games left. Yeah. Yes.
Well, and you played long enough to know you're not always going to love your teammates, and not everybody's always going to get along, even if you're playing reasonably well. It seems as though this group genuinely appreciates each other and enjoys playing together.
By the way, I like you.
I like you as well. Glad we got that out of the way.